The movie begins with a panning shot of the beautiful city of Bay Cove, showcasing the natural beauty of its ocean and the many species inhabiting the surrounding reef. Then, from the wild clownfish to a small goldfish in its bowl, we are introduced to our protagonist, Isla, chatting happily to her fish as she feeds them. Soon after, she heads down to the docks and meets her colleague, Pete, ready for a day's work. They chat about the upcoming birth of his first grandchild as they take a small rib out to the ocean. Meanwhile, a man named Liam is standing in line at the coffee shop as a news report on the television speaks about a famous surfer who threw the entire world for a loop when he decided to quit right after winning a major international competition. Liam looks uncomfortable at hearing the bulletin, as though he wants nothing more than to leave the shop, and we immediately catch on that he is the mysterious surfer. The girl at the checkout asks him for an autograph as he collects his coffee, and he obliges her politely before heading to his table. He picks up a call from his agent Connie, who manages his PR, and she encourages him to check out the upcoming competition, even though he seems very hesitant to get back into surfing again. She sent over some headshots for him to post on his Instagram, and reluctantly he hangs up and follows her instructions, selecting one to put on his official page. Meanwhile, Pete and Isla are still out on the boat, and she gears up in her wetsuit and diving gear before they both drop into the water. They're marine biologists who are there to study the coral reef. Shortly after, Liam takes his own boat out from the jetty and goes snorkeling nearby, intending to take a break from the pressure of his life as a superstar. Unfortunately, when he surfaces after a refreshing dip in the ocean, he finds himself on the scientist's boat by accident. He startles Isla as he climbs up the side, causing her to drop what she's holding into the water, and they have a brief altercation as he insists she's the one on the wrong vessel. When Pete surfaces, wondering what all the noise is about, Liam realizes his mistake, groaning at how much of an idiot he's made of himself. Isla smirks at him, pleased to be proven right, and Pete hands her the sample she accidentally dropped overboard. Embarrassed, Liam apologizes and turns to leave, even as Isla recognizes him as the surfer from the news. He denies it and makes a quick exit off the side. Back in the lab later on, Isla arrives to be greeted with a smoothie from the receptionist, her sister Brooke, who's taken to ordering paper straws for the office per Isla's instructions. She wants them to be more ecologically friendly. Just then, her colleague approaches and praises her on her research. Apparently, she's close to a breakthrough on a study about how to reverse coral bleaching, which would be an incredible discovery for the health of the reef. The board of directors is extremely impressed with her, and if she succeeds in this study, she'll likely get a promotion. She's thrilled with the news. Liam heads back to shore and enters a shop called Diver's Paradise, greeting the owner, his father. He complains that his day was pointless, but his dad appears optimistic, reminding him that he managed to get in the water. He mentions that Connie called him about Liam judging this year's Pipeline Masters event, the very competition he won the previous year. He thinks it could be a good opportunity for his son to make a comeback to the sport, but Liam argues firmly that he doesn't want a comeback. He wants to continue diving and working with the shop, not surfing. He turns to the laptop to see a loan application for the shop has been declined, but although he questions his father, the man isn't willing to share his problems, promising that everything's under control. Liam drops it, but obviously isn't convinced. Back at the lab, Isla approaches the reception again and chats with her sister, who's busy sketching. She's hoping to apply for art school, but hasn't found the right inspiration for her admissions piece yet. The pair head off for dinner, brainstorming ideas, much to Brooke's reluctance, as she's shy about the whole thing. By the time they get home, they're still discussing it, and their father joins in, piling on with his ideas as well despite Brooke's exasperation. She finally gets them to drop the topic when he shows them some of their mother's old paintings that he found in the attic. He wants the girls to take one each, since he already has so many around the house. They're touched by his thoughtfulness, before remembering the dinner is burning, and rushing around to get everything ready. Back at Diver's Paradise, Liam's father is speaking to someone on the phone. He's excited when he drops the call and announces that they've got a temporary contract as the dive masters for the nearby Marine Institute, coincidentally, the same one Isla works at. Liam confronts his father about their financial situation, and the man reluctantly admits it's rougher than he let on, but he's confident that if they manage to secure this contract and make it permanent, they'll be able to keep the shop open. Liam is all in and happy to help, but he can't help but look wistfully at the surfboards outside as he locks up. At dinner, Isla explains her project to her family. It turns out she needs a grant from Mayor Wade to finish her research, but unfortunately, their father has been in a rivalry with her since time immemorial, so she's hoping it won't affect the decision. He plays dumb as they tease him for his love-hate relationship with her. Later, Brooke is playing around with her husband Charlie while Isla and her father look on. Isla reveals her disbelief in the concept of soulmates, but her father encourages her to stop looking at everything so scientifically, and instead try to go with the flow a little more. This is difficult for Isla to absorb, as someone who applies logic to every situation. The next morning, Isla's father is at his work at an architecture firm. Mayor Wade turns out to be his first appointment of the day, and he accidentally addresses her as Marcia, taken aback by her presence there. However, he maintains a professional persona, taking on board her feedback about the design he's come up with. Just then Isla approaches with coffee, surprised to see the two being so civil to each other. Mayor Wade admits that she's been looking for an architect for a long time, but nobody's quite seen her vision correctly, except for him. She gets up to leave, informing Isla on the way out that she's looking forward to hearing her pitch. Later, Isla heads out to the docks again expecting to see Pete, but is surprised to find Liam there instead. She's immediately suspicious of his presence, and he has to explain that he's the Institute's new dive master. Isla is flabbergasted and doesn't trust Liam at all. He can't even find his own boat. How is she supposed to believe he can back her up in the open water? She calls Brooke in a fury, wondering where Pete is, and her sister informs her he took leave because his daughter finally went into labor. For the next month, she's stuck with Liam as her dive master. There's nobody else certified with the requisite availability. Isla groans, still not believing he's up to the job, but without any other options. After she hangs up, Liam taunts her, not improving her impression of him. She declines all his offers of assistance, and his silly hat, which he proffers as a sun protector, and informs him that he'll be driving, and she'll do everything else alone. Shrugging, he dons the hat himself and the pair head out. He gets his wetsuit on and Isla immediately panics, not wanting him to interfere with her work, claiming that he needs to stay in the boat in case she has any problems. Liam doesn't listen, though, having seen her with Pete the previous day, and she's left infuriated as he insists on accompanying her. On the way back, a curious Isla questions his sudden career change, but Liam remains a closed book, not wanting to discuss his past. When they arrive, she tentatively asks him if he'd mind sending her the photos he took of the reef to help with her pitch. As they're speaking though, two manic fans approach and ask for autographs, which Liam graciously allows them, as well as a photo. Isla is visibly bothered by it, but doesn't say anything. He makes her promise to put in a good word with her boss about his parents' dive shop, in exchange for sending her the photos. Back at the lab, Isla receives a call from the mayor's office informing her that she needs 100 community voters in favor of her proposition for the pitch. She's blindsided by this, as she wasn't aware it was part of the application. But she promises they'll be there on the day. As soon as she hangs up, she runs over to Brooke, begging her sister for help. Brooke suggests that in order to get 100 people to turn up, she'll need something to promote her cause, something people will get excited about. Isla is stumped until the solution in the form of her enigmatic dive master crosses her mind. She approaches Liam at the docks with a proposition in mind, but halts when she sees him filming a promotion video for a product called Waterline that is extremely harmful to the environment. He defends himself, and she turns around and resolutely walks away, deciding that despite his popularity, he's not worth it. Liam stops her, desperate to secure the contract for his parents, and admits he didn't know that the products were harmful. He just needs the money. He cares about the reef because it's the source of his parents' income. Isla is still tempted to leave, but remembers that she needs his influence, or else everything she's worked for will be for nothing. Swallowing her pride, she agrees to a trial run of her plan, although she still finds his spoiled celebrity persona infuriating and arrogant. After she leaves, Liam picks up the water light bottle and stares at it, seemingly distressed. He doesn't want to turn down the contract, but he's caught in a tough spot. Connie calls and tells him that the new plan is to put him on a billboard right above the entrance to the town. Liam brings up the environmental concerns, but she isn't willing to listen. Disheartened, he hangs up. The next morning he meets Isla at the beach for the trial run. She shows him the script she's prepared, and he scoffs at the language in it. It's dull and scientific, and not at all the kind of thing that'll get people involved. The manager of the event steps up and introduces him, and he jumps up on stage excitedly, getting the crowd riled up. But they're all only interested in his surfing, getting autographs and hearing about his new projects. As soon as he mentions the vote, they quickly lose interest. They decide to join the games that are being hosted on the beach, in an effort to ingratiate themselves with the crowd. Isla turns out to be a natural at cornhole, the first game of the day, and she and Liam make a great team, joining in on the fun. For the first time in a while, Isla gets to let loose and enjoy herself, and she even forgets how much she despises Liam in the process. On their way out, a man approaches and asks how to vote in the town hall meeting, and although Isla is disappointed that they didn't get many commitments, Liam reminds her that it's 2 more votes than she had before. He jokes around with her, becoming more comfortable in her presence, although she still struggles to drop her professionalism and find her sense of humor. He promises her he'll think of something before heading out, leaving her baffled. The following day, Liam shows up at the institute, to the delight of Brooke, who leads him personally to Isla's lab. Unfortunately, all his ideas are terrible, and Isla is convinced the whole thing is a waste of time. However, he then gets up and looks at what she's doing, showing a genuine interest in her project, which surprises her. He notices a newspaper article on her desk about her mother, and she explains the reason she even became a marine biologist in the first place is because of her mother's dream to see the reef restored. The pair head to a demonstration Isla is giving to some children who are visiting the institute. When her presentation on the dangers of coral bleaching is over, they all have questions for her, but none of them are about coral. Regardless, she answers the questions enthusiastically, and Liam secretly films her, inspired by her knowledge and excitement about marine life. Later on, when the two are alone, Liam drops a test tube on the floor, and both he and Isla go to pick it up at the same moment, creating a spark of tension between them that wasn't there before. They spend some time alone together in her lab as Liam finally admits that things in his life aren't as clear-cut as he makes them seem. He's trying to get out of the waterline contract, but that isn't looking good for him, and he doesn't know whether he wants surfing to be a part of his life again. Isla listens to him without judgment, offering her trademark logical opinion: if he wants to surf, he should surf. Liam confesses that he wants to teach Isla, that maybe getting back on the board would be easier as a coach, and she agrees, on the condition that he gets her 45 signatures by the end of the day. Not one to back down from a challenge, Liam takes the tablet and sets to work. On the way out of the lab, Connie calls again and Liam reiterates that he wants nothing to do with waterline anymore. Despite the amount of money they're offering, and Connie's indignation, he tells her firmly to pass on the contract. For the first time in a while, he feels like he's actually doing the right thing in his life. Later, Isla receives a text message evidencing that Liam has somehow managed to get the requisite amount of signatures on the petition, which means she's going surfing. She heads out to reception to get some advice from Brooke and catches her drawing sketches for the Save the Reef project. She's totally enamored with them and wants to use them as branding for the pitch. She then begs Brooke and her husband to accompany her and Liam surfing in the morning as a distraction from her lack of coordination, which she really doesn't want Liam to see. Meanwhile, Liam is waxing his surfboard. His father approaches and asks him about it, and he admits he's actually excited to get back in the water and teach. His father then reminds him about a small business event that's happening in 2 days, suggesting it could be a good way to drum up more votes. The next morning, Isla, Brooke, and Charlie meet Liam on the beach. He's surprised to see they've got company, but takes it in stride, teaching the lesson to all three, until Brooke and Charlie reveal they're actually experienced surfers already, and take off giggling into the water. Liam realizes he's been punked and shakes his head at Isla, who's stifling her laughter. It turns out she has a sense of humor after all. Exasperated, Liam continues with the lesson, and Isla ends up falling off the board into his lap, laughing hysterically at her own mishap. Without even realizing it, the pair are beginning to connect. Out on the water, Isla asks him to come clean about how he got 45 signatures so quickly. He admits that he called in all the favors he could think of, and while he's at it, he tells her he's quit the waterline contract. Isla is proud of his growth, but he simply shrugs off her praise. He did it because he was ready for a change. She inquires again about his reason for quitting surfing, and he finally reveals that he had an accident in the last pipeline competition. Surfing used to be his way to work out his problems, but once he got famous, it turned from a way to relieve his stress into the source of it. He felt he had to keep up an image, and for some reason when he took that last fall, he couldn't get back up on the board. He still can't explain it, but everything feels off, like an imbalance in his system. He wants to surf again, but he wants to surf as a different version of himself, a version he can be proud of. Someone who doesn't buckle under the pressure and feed the bad boy celebrity image that he created for himself. He admits that getting back on a board to teach her has given him a feeling of calm, as though he's coming home. Isla begins to realize that there's a lot more to Liam than she initially thought, and perhaps she misjudged his attitude from the beginning. As they're walking back, they're once again interrupted by a pair of fans, and Liam obligingly takes a photo. They mention something about a billboard reveal, leaving both Liam and Isla confused. Isla shows Liam a spot on the beach where turtles are currently nesting, revealing they've been petitioning the city to reserve the land. However, so far it's looking unlikely. Then the pair sit beneath palm trees and drink straight from coconuts, laughing and bonding. With a sparkle in his eye, Liam asks her to be his date to the small business event, on the pretext, of course, of getting more votes for the community project. But there's no denying the romantic undertones that their relationship is beginning to show. Isla regales Liam with the details of her project as they walk back down the beach, and he's beginning to fall for her more and more with every passing second as she excitedly describes the possible ramifications of her success. A seat on the board, a fully funded project, and the possibility of reversing the coral bleaching on the reef, and restoring it to its full thriving diversity. He's enchanted by her enthusiasm, and can't keep his eyes off her as she walks away. Later, Isla returns home to meet Brooke, who's busy working on some paintings for the campaign. She asks for her help in designing some pamphlets and information packages for the event, and the pair chat about Isla and Liam's developing relationship. Brooke's happy to see Isla relaxed for once, and although Isla isn't sure how she feels yet, for once she's willing to go with the flow and see where things lead. Isla's colleague approaches her, concerned about Liam's involvement in the campaign. She mentions that the board are aware of his sponsorship by Waterline, and think he's sending the wrong message. Isla assures her that Liam's a changed person, and he's fully behind the Save the Reef project. She stakes her professional reputation on it, promising he can be trusted. Meanwhile, Liam's gone surfing again the next day, making his father proud that he's getting back on the board. As Isla heads out to meet Liam for the day's dive, Brooke catches her at reception and asks her to meet her later on, before the charity event, so she can show her a surprise she's been working on. Isla meets up with Liam and expresses her concern about the board's opinion of him. He promises her he's canceled the contract, admitting she was right. He's got a platform and he wants to use it for things that matter, not for making money. When they get out on the water again, she remarks at how far out he anchors the boat, and he reveals that he does it because the particular spot is ecologically friendly, which is why he mistook their boat for his own. The first time they met, they'd moored in the same place. She asks him about the silly hat he offered her when they first went out to dive, and he explains that it helps children feel better when they're nervous about going under. More and more, Isla is understanding that there's much more to this mysterious surfer than she thought. He sits back, willing to stay in the boat this time and respect her wishes, but she asks him to come and dive with her, showcasing her trust in him and the relationship they've built. As they return, though, trouble's brewing. Connie calls Liam and informs him she's come to a verbal agreement with Waterline. She went around him because she doesn't trust whatever identity crisis he's currently going through. Devastated, Liam grits his teeth and closes his eyes, not knowing what he's going to do. How is he going to explain this to Isla, who believed in him and trusted him? Back at Isla's father's place, Brooke reveals her idea for the Save the Reef branding to her family. It's a painting of their mothers that was left unfinished when she passed away, which Brooke has restored and finished. Everyone is overwhelmed at the painting's beauty, and they share a group hug in solidarity, hoping that between them they can make their mother's dream come to fruition. Liam arrives at the house to pick Isla up for the event, unsure how he's going to break the news to her about Waterline. However, before he can speak, she hands him a gift bag with a small stuffed toy on it, to put on his diving hat. He's so overcome by the gesture that he can't bring himself to disappoint her, so he keeps quiet, wanting just one more evening in her company before it all comes crashing down. Together they attend the beautiful event, and Isla meets Liam's beaming parents, showcasing Brooke's painting with all the flyers and pamphlets arranged. She's overwhelmed at the effort Liam's family have put in, and their campaign is a massive success as they mingle with the crowd and quickly fill up the remaining signatures. After getting their business done, the pair take some time for pleasure. They head to the dance floor, messing about with some silly moves and laughing, until the music turns slow. Clearing his throat, Liam asks her for a real dance. As they sway, they gaze into each other's eyes, and it's obvious that the attraction between them is mutual. Liam admits softly that he really misjudged her, but he still doesn't reveal the secret that will undoubtedly rip them apart. After the dance, she sincerely thanks him for all his help, and her trusting words finally give him a moment of doubt. He knows he has to tell her the truth. He's about to reveal the news about the sponsorship when she gets a phone call from her colleague. While she takes it, his parents approach him and congratulate him on the campaign, and on returning to the Liam he used to be. They haven't seen their son be his authentic self in a long time, and they're happy that he's found something, and someone, to care about again. Unfortunately, though, Isla's phone call is bad news. Her colleague lets her know that the hearing and the vote the next day has been cancelled. Apparently something else more important came up, so they've had to postpone it. Since there's no definite reschedule, the board can't hold off on their decision any longer, so she'll need to make her presentation for the promotion without the proper funding for her project. The news is devastating for Isla. She's lost her whole future in one fell swoop. To make it worse, she discovers that the land the turtles are breeding on has been sold to create a packaging plant. Undoubtedly, as we know, the One Waterline intends on advertising with Liam's face on the billboard. Isla returns to the party distraught, but before Liam can explain anything, Connie shows up. She's obnoxious and pushes Isla out of the way, congratulating Liam on the new deal and informing him of the plans for the following day. Before Liam can get a word in, Isla learns the whole truth, and blows up in anger as she realizes that he's the reason her dreams have been destroyed. Unable to face him, she storms off, and he can't follow as the mayor shows up at that precise moment for a photo shoot. He threatens Connie, but she tells him that Waterline will sue if he doesn't get his act together. Even though she's the one who trapped him in the contract in the first place, there's nothing Liam can do. He stalks away, enraged. Back at Isla's place, Brooke is comforting her sister. Isla feels stupid for falling for Liam's apparent ploy, but Brooke believes in Liam, and doesn't think he'd do anything to hurt Isla on purpose. She begs her sister to have some faith in him, because he clearly cares about her, but the betrayal is still too fresh, and Isla can't bring herself to give Liam the benefit of the doubt. The following day, Isla is finishing off her presentation. Despite knowing it won't be approved without the funding, she still wants to give it her best possible shot. She ignores all Liam's calls, despite Brooke's disapproving looks. Just then, the news about the billboard comes on television from City Hall, and they see the man himself standing with Mayor Wade. The reporter asks him about the Waterline plant and billboard, and Liam takes the opportunity to slap on a Save the Reef badge and hold Mayor Wade to account for canceling the hearing. She looks supremely uncomfortable as he begs the viewers to come to town hall and protest against the cancellation, putting an emphasis on how important it is to take care of their natural resources. The camera pans up to show the billboard, which has been replaced with a screen showcasing the Save the Reef movement. Isla and Brooke are in shock as Liam goes on to urge the mayor to hold the vote, offering her own Save the Reef badge. Despite her discomfort, she is forced to agree and save face, as the cameras are still rolling. When the interview is over, Isla and Brooke rush straight to City Hall to attend the vote. Connie marches up to Liam in a fury, demanding to know what happened. He dresses her down, reminding her that he didn't sign the contract, she did, and fires her on the spot. Whatever Waterline thinks of his hijacking their publicity, it's not his problem. Connie is left fuming as he walks away triumphantly. Isla and Brooke meet Charlie and the girl's father at Town Hall, amid flocks of people who have come down to vote. Isla is overwhelmed at the amount of support, realizing that it's all down to Liam's TV broadcast. She spots her colleague talking to a member of the board and, upon approaching them, learns that they've all come down to support her as well. They're excited to hear her presentation, because they all want to back the project. She's left speechless with joy. In the space of 12 short hours, her whole world's turned around. But the day's not over yet. Liam approaches her from behind, and she turns to face him, apologetic for her outburst. He forgives her, explaining how everything worked out with the contract and Connie, and encourages her to go in and give it everything. He watches from the window as she delivers her speech in front of the council, and at the end, she comes out feeling great. Outside, Isla introduces Liam to her father, who's desperate to go surfing with him. As they chat, though, Mayor Wade approaches them with a stern expression. She reveals that the council has voted against the proposal. Despite the outpouring of support and the excellent presentation, they simply felt that it wasn't the right way to spend the available funds. Isla is devastated as the mayor leaves, realizing that in spite of everything, all the effort they put in, and all that they gave up for it, it's going to be for nothing. Isla won't be getting a board seat. She won't be able to secure Liam's parents' contract. They won't be able to save the reef. Her family ushers her away as she tries not to break down, and a distraught Liam has to hold it together, knowing he needs to find another way to save his parents' shop. Back at home, Brooke tries to lift her sister's spirits by suggesting they start a donation page, or find some other way to use the publicity they've built. Isla, though, is only thinking of Liam's dive shop, and how she'll be unable to keep the promise she made to save it. They don't notice as their father and Mayor Wade approach, seemingly having repaired their fraught rivalry. The mayor sincerely offers her apologies to Isla and proposes a new idea, that she ties her Save the Reef campaign to the new mayoral campaign instead. Mayor Wade is willing to make it a pillar of her re-election, with Isla joining her to raise awareness, and if she's voted in, to provide full funding for her research. She's already spoken with the board of the Institute, who are all comfortable with the proposition. As Isla and Brooke celebrate excitedly, she receives a text from her colleague confirming her appointment to the board, in the wake of the mayor's decision. This means that she can save Liam's shop by securing them a contract with the Institute. She rushes down to Diver's Paradise in search of her partner, to give him the good news. She meets his parents in the shop instead, and in a rush, blurts out how she feels about Liam, and also reveals that she'll be giving them a permanent contract. Liam's parents hug in delight at the exciting news, as she races out the door to find the man himself. She doesn't need to look far. He's at the docks on his boat, and as she approaches, he steps up to greet her. Isla excitedly explains the newest developments, and Liam picks her up and spins her in a hug, ecstatic that everything's turned out well for them. Isla will get her well-deserved promotion, the shop will be saved, and their Save the Reef campaign will be heard on a bigger scale than ever before. After some playful banter, Isla grows serious and apologizes profusely for her behavior towards Liam, for not believing in him. He waves away her apology, because he knows he made mistakes as well. The pair share a kiss as the sun sets on the docks, looking forward to the bright future ahead of them, fighting together to preserve their home.